doctrine of the lot, which is original sin in Adam and the expiation by the sacrifice of children, human sacrifice of children, than which I don't think any morally normal person can think of anything more repulsive. So that it is, I'm afraid, innate that there is to be cruelty and violence and fanaticism in the religion, and the responsibility is not expiable. Bizarrely, I mean, many people think, well, the Old Testament is true, it's full of bloodletting, it recommends genocide, extermination, slavery, or dispossession, all of these things. The New Testament is more meek and mild. I've given you my comment on that. It's the first time that hell is mentioned. But it is in the Christian version that another whole different kind of immorality is proposed, a worse kind of immorality yet, which is the wicked idea of non-resistance to evil and the deranged idea that we should love our enemies. Nothing could be more suicidal and immoral than that. We have to defend ourselves and our children and our civilization from our enemies. We have to learn to educate ourselves in a cold, steady dislike of them and a determination to encompass their destruction. Who here heard anyone after September the 11th in holy orders actually say, oh, well, we must learn to love these people? Did they dare say that then? Of course not. They saw the emptiness and the futility and the immorality of what they would have been caught saying if they'd even tried it. We have to bear all this stuff in mind. This is not moral teaching at all. We have to survive our enemies. We have to learn to destroy them, especially because they too are motivated by the hectic, maniacal ideas of monotheism, which really seeks and yearns for the destruction of our planet and the end of days. And that's why it's not moral. That's why we have to outgrow it and defeat it.
I have a feeling you want to comment.
Well, I'd like to comment. First of all, I do not think that the principle of trying to love your enemies leads to these things at all. I think it, if anything, leads to the obviation of violence. It does not mean we have to ignore moral issues. It means that we see these people as human beings, as someone who, in effect, bears the same flesh and blood as us. And it may mean that we want to try and resolve the issue, saying we believe you are wrong, but it's also trying to avoid dehumanization. And it seems to me this really is a very significant question I'd like to pursue. That, I mean, I may have misunderstood you, but what you seem to be proposing is to see your enemies in dehumanized form. And for me as a Christian, I could not do that, because I have to see even my enemies as those who God has made and loved. And therefore, even though I may dislike them intensely, I have to show that love and compassion towards them and see them as human beings, not as the other, the enemy. I think really there's more to this idea than you suggest.
There's no need to dehumanize people who are set on dehumanizing themselves and on the murder of others and on a cult of death. There's no need to they've done all that for themselves.
But what do you
like someone once accused me of trying to assassinate his character, and I said, no, your character committed suicide a long time ago. They've done the dehumanizing work for us, thanks, and they are fellow primates. Of course, there's no question of redefining them as another species, but there is a very important question of whether we intend to assert our own values as superior to theirs and as worth defending against them. And Christianity, with the sickly relativism that you've stressed so often this evening, disarms us for this very important struggle. That's why the Archbishop of Canterbury is this week groveling at the feet of the mullahs in Iran and saying we should leave them alone and must try not to hurt their feelings, as he groveled at the feet of Saddam Hussein, as actually every Christian church has been doing in the recent past, saying, well, you know, faith is better than no faith. Any faith is better than none. They all agreed to condemn Salman Rushdie for blasphemy rather than the people who tried to kill him for money, for writing a novel, for example. They all condemned the Danish cartoons because blasphemy against any faith is an offense to all.
Could I interrupt you here on this?
Okay, well, this is very serious, ladies and gentlemen, because this stuff could kill you. Okay?
Yes, Christopher, I've heard you yourself at one of my own conferences expound at great length on the Christian just war, at the Christian just war tradition. You seem to have left that whole rich tradition out of what you just covered.
Yeah, but it's Christian, I think the Christian just war tradition is a nonsensical tautology. It says that you can only go to war when you're sure you're in the right, when you're sure you can win, when you're sure the violence is going to be proportional and so on. You can't know any of this. Aquinas couldn't have known it, nor could the later thinkers about it, like Grotius. They couldn't have known. They said, wouldn't it be nice? It's just wishful thinking again. I know a just war when I see one. And we're engaged in one now. And our faith-based forces are of about as much use as the Pope's balls in this struggle.
Well, we're getting a little off course here, but
I know.
I had a feeling it might come up.
I wanted this to come up.
You know, we've actually gone overtime, and I feel like we could stay till about 10 o'clock, but...
I'm not in a hurry. I've got no hurry. My mission statement is I won't go till if anyone can claim that I didn't answer a question. So,
well, there are a lot of people here.
Well, I'll be on the steps outside having a smoke and a miniature.
We were going to go 15 minutes
one
over.
More?
Well, it was for you, but I'll tell you what, I'll let you comment on this, and then we'll let Professor Graff make some final comments, and then I think we can be in agreement we should do this again. I think we just got started. Would you both be agreeable to doing that?
Sure.
You all would come back, wouldn't you? Mr. Hitchens,
that was my daughter saying no.
Why would, Mr. Hitchens, why would scientific discoveries about the origin of the universe obviate the existence of God?
Well, they don't in and of themselves, but I just would submit, I really will be quick this time, and I know I've been a little verbose up till now. The likelihood that what Edwin Hubble saw through that telescope, the red light escaping at speeds that none of us here are capable of really imagining, towards the ultimate expansion and collapse of the universe and the heat death of the whole thing, that all that happened so we could be sitting here is, to me, in the very, very highest degree, improbable. That a process of evolution by natural selection just on our own tiny little planet, which in its own tiny little solar system is the only one on which life can be supported. Everywhere else, just in our little system, all the other rocks are either much too hot or much too cold to support life, as is much of our planet, which we know has for a long time been, not recently either, on a climatic knife edge, and which is still cooling. Only one. And on this planet, 99.8% of every species that ever evolved died out. This is an extraordinary way, I think, to make sure that Homo sapiens comes to Georgetown. It is only the most extraordinarily self-centered species could imagine that all this was going on for our sake. That's why I don't like people saying that their religious faith is modest or humble. It's the reverse. It's unbelievably solipsistic. And that's why you get people apparently abject, much too abject for my taste, like Mother Teresa. Oh, I'm so humble I can hardly bother to feed myself, you know. But out of my way because I'm on a mission for God. No. This is arrogance, as a matter of fact, and it claims to know what it cannot know. I could say that Einstein was right when he said, the miracle